Hello, my name is RT Brown, and I'm the Director of Business Acceleration with the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. I focus on programs such as Instigate for emerging businesses, Business Acceleration for growth stage businesses, and our Micro Entrepreneur Loan Program for businesses that aren't able to obtain traditional financing. And of course, Regenerate, our program to help businesses navigate ownership succession. Over the last few years, and a collaborator with our Regenerate program is the Vermont Employee Ownership Center. They've been providing leadership, direct technical assistance, and consultation to businesses in the region and across the state who are thinking about different succession models. With me today is Matt Croft. He's the Executive Director of the Vermont Employee Ownership Center. Matt received his MA in History from UVM in 2011, where he studied economic history and the origins of cooperative finance. He started with VEOC, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, in 2014. Matt, thanks for taking some time to talk with me. This is going to be conversational nature, so we're not going to be terribly formal with this, but why don't we start with you introducing yourself and perhaps providing an overview of VEOC in your own words.
Yep, and thanks for the intro. That was correct. I've been executive director of the organization since October of 2020. Previous to that, I was co-executive director with our founder Don Jameson, and the Employee Ownership Center got it started about 20 years ago in 2001, and kind of officially hired staff and really launched in 2002. So we're, depending on how you look at it, we're at or near our 20th anniversary. We're a nonprofit with a mission to promote and foster broad-based employee ownership for a variety of impact goals, right? Job retention, broad-based opportunities for wealth building among working people, community stability in terms of companies and company succession being done in a way that keeps those companies and communities. And so we do a lot of kind of different things. We're a small team, so we certainly support some groups that try to start businesses that are employee owned from the get-go, but a lot of our work is around ownership succession. And so when a business owner is thinking, okay, what is important for me about what happens next in my business when I'm done with it, whether they're a serial entrepreneur and looking to move on to their next thing, or looking to retirement and have spent 40 years building this business and are looking at what the options are to exit. One of our key activities is oftentimes sitting down for one-on-one conversations with business owners, talk through their goals, their timelines, learn a bit about the business, and see if broad-based employee ownership is something that could be a good fit for both their financial goals, their personal goals, their legacy goals, all of those things you have to consider when you're looking to exit a business. And I should clarify that when we talk about employee ownership, I said broad-based employee ownership, and we define that as forms of ownership where all full-time equivalent employees have a path to becoming a co-owner of the business. So there's lots of examples of things where you might sell to a manager, or sell to a smaller group that become partners, and while those are valid paths, those aren't really what we specialize in. We specialize in these things where everyone from the guy sweeping the floor to the folks in the C-suite can have some stake in the success of the business at an ownership level, not just at a compensation level.
Great. And since your involvement with VEOC, have you seen interest in these different models growing?
Yes. So, when I started, again, we've been around for a while and we have kind of a pipeline. So there's kind of a steady drumbeat. And oftentimes it's a long process of talking to business owners where, a conversation might start and then they get busy and disappear for a few years and then come back up. And there, I think one of the companies when I first started that converted to employee stock ownership plan that year, looking back through the ye grand old spreadsheet, Don, our kind of co-founder, had his first contact with them 10 years prior. So,
Oh, wow.
There's definitely some things where it's just kind of keeping in touch, and when folks are ready, they're ready, but it's a big decision.
Yeah.
More recently, we've definitely been seeing a big uptick where at the start of the pandemic, obviously, along with everything else, things quieted down, way down for the first 6 months. But since then, we've seen in the current year, normally we see, maybe, I think, 2 to 3 businesses convert in a year. This year, in terms of conversions and startups, we're already at 4, and there's a 5th that looks like it's going to flip soon. And and we've got several more that look like it might happen towards the end of the year. So in terms of actual activity, it's higher than usual. And certainly also in terms of inquiries and first contacts, and since probably I'd say since August or September of 2020 was when everything felt like it started to thaw out, and a lot of people had, suddenly these existential questions around, wow, this is what am I doing with my life? What do I want to do with my
Right.
business?
Right.
Maybe it's a time to, make decisions rather than push them off further. So I think there's been a lot of that. And then the other thing that we have seen is a lot more kind of entrepreneurial activity than normal, both in terms of folks who've worked together and were on unemployment and we're like, hey, we like each other. We think we understand the business. We think we can go into business together.
Right.
But also, people who, are just deciding, hey, I want to start something and I want to kind of have shared ownership from the get-go with a team of other folks.
Right.
So, we're seeing more activity than usual on multiple fronts.
Well, that's great. That's awesome.